I'm at the Intermountain Sustainability Summit, which is powerful. It's virtual. But good news, NUSCALE is not presenting. What about, do you know if Gates' firm, Terra, is presenting? What is the SMR, small nuclear, Bill Gates' company? It's called Terra Power. T-E-R-R-A.
Colorful fusion of found objects, mid-century modern aesthetics, and intentionally lumpy ceramics. She enjoys combining natural and
NUSCALE, that's good.
materials in unexpected ways and appreciates scissors of both reasonable and unreasonable
I like your ball.
proportions. Jen encourages her students to play with materials and enjoy the process of making art. So I'll now turn time over to Jen.
Howdy. I forgot that I was sending out my bio there.
Good. So I'm going to get on the website and I'll be back. Thanks, you guys. So we're virtual, and that's good news because, you know, they faced me right here multiple times. I'm in their face, and I just asked them, well, can we see one? Can we see one of the unicorns? You know, and that's all I asked. You promised us we would have an actual one working here in Utah that we paid $500 million for out of our bills. You said you'd have one by 2019. Well, can we see it? Can we see Santa Claus? Can we see Easter Bunny? Talk about March Madness. I got my Montana State. I just talked to Michael. He's from the Czech Republic. You know, he should be playing in the tournament. But so I'm relieved that when Weir State starts to pivot away from those guys, you think that says a lot? This is the great Profetering University. When we were kids, everybody knew who the Brownies and the Wattses were in this town. That's why none of them freaking used their real names. We all knew what old European war profiteers in the United States were. And we knew, when I was a young guy, first started this college, it was a state university, still is funded. No private donations, none. And I remember protesting in front of the Brownie Center. The Brownie Center was not named the Brownie Center. It was called the Weber State Performing Arts Centers. And this was a powerhouse university, state. It was incredible. I look back at the professors I had. Holy shit. The legendary Dr. Cooley, Dr. Winters, Doyle Strong, you know, Arthur Adelman in my art, and Jane Catlin, you know, in art. Dr. Winters in biology. He's the one that taught me about where Spanish flu really came from. He said it's biological weapons testing in World War I, World War II. So the Stewart, Mrs. Stewart is the heir to the D family, which was the biggest heir to the, and don't get me wrong, Mrs. Stewart is probably the greatest philanthropist in Western. She did the right thing with her war profiteering money, and that's what it was. They built the hospitals that saved me, and of course, it's complicated. The football, she left $750 million. Now we could walk in here. Well, I should walk in here. I'm gonna walk in here, and I'll show you guys. There's no Famake Prodi. At this point, you're still standing on, there's no Wamasaka, there's no, I mean, come on, Weber. The Board of Regents are all 100 years old. These old oligarchs. You know, the Lampros Hall. Mr. Lampros is the First Security Bank. Mariner Eccles. There'll be no war profiteering. Let's walk over there. There'll be no war profiteering in World War II. That speech, that's Mariner sitting right next to him, the Federal Reserve. And I knew Mariner personally. Good guy. Don't get me wrong on that. Well, the Eccles fled and took their money they made in Utah. I went to Park City, University of Utah. I tell him all the time, why don't you bring it home and save his whole hotel to Ben Lomond? But Mr. Lampros, I think this is still alive. He was the banker for, I mean, he was the guy. I think he's 102. Dr. Hirsch, he drew the logo. I think he's close to 100. They're alive. And there's people running these Board of Regents never went to school here, never did anything here. There you go. That was the art building when I went to school here. You know, I got stuck here. Well, I was being postured and groomed to take over the School of Business. Dr. Cooley out of nowhere. We got the MBA program. We were the #1 finance school in the country via the testing, maybe the world. That's unarguable. That's unarguable. Another lasso. Warren Buffett come in here. And, you know, he just waited till Clyde Cooley died. And do you think about the timing of Clyde Cooley's death? Clyde Cooley got mad cow 2 weeks before the probably would have been the strongest NBA program in the country, bar. You should have seen the people lined up, including me. I won that first NBA. You got Matt Cowan died. Kyle Madsen got cancer and died in 2005. For those years, you know, I ran the show under lots of promises, you know, but they flipped the whole culture. They went to supply chain, and they sold it to us as military, and it wasn't military. It was slave camps in Chinese-made goods, and they don't even rank in the top 500. They don't even make the Princeton Review. That's the top 300. How do you go from number 1? Wharton was our sister school, you know. The ethics that got taught here, the powerhouse students that came out included. I have the highest score ever tested in undergraduate freaking finance history. That's an arguable fact. Class of 96. That's my, you know, they begged me, well, nobody can handle this. You're his protege right there, the Wattis School of Business. What an evolution. So, boy, if they played COVID to a fine science, a fine fiddle, they don't have to face anyone. You know, I'm against online testing. I think it's disgusting. I'm an old chalk thrower. I used to write fuck on my board. I was a student professor here. That's what we used to do. I used to teach with Matt himself, Godfrey. Yeah, me and him together. His wife was the valedictorian here. God, what they've done to this place. It's heartbreaking. Bell doesn't ring anymore in the tower. I noticed that the other day. What's going on here? The Stewart Library has any book to do with Russian Revolution in the free library every day. Unbelievable. And they're women of Weber. It's Women Week. They're recognizing all the women of Weber. The #1 woman by far in the history of Weber County. Weber was a young woman professor here at 17, 18. First female dean of history in the history. Her name, Fama K. Brody. They won't mention her name. March Madness, they won't mention Wat Masaka. So I was nervous about today because I thought I was going to have some confrontations, but I told her I'm really relieved to know that Governor Cox is in bed with Tara. You heard me ask her. Governor Cox says this is important. The operating system was stole by Bill Gates. There was a trial in 2011. I would have been there protesting, but I was in a bone marrow transplant center fighting for my life. That's how they sold the radio signal. Here come the F-35s. He stole it from here. It was invented here. I learned right there. Shift F-35, F-13. This was a powerhouse, but what killed this university? Took it apart. Ring kissers and bootlickers. Imperialist ring kissers, and I'm like, you cannot take his money. Bill Childs, I used to write on his Learjet, and then I told Bill right to his face, I said, you call yourself Christian, what about the usury aspect of this? They donated all this money and they just I said, you will ruin this university. Brownies regained thing, you know, they took their money. That's what's happened to academia. What is academia in the United States over the last 30 years? It's bootlickers and ring kissers. Koch brothers come out. PBS Koch brothers, they come out. Well, one of them's dead. The other one says that's who sponsored the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. She says she divorced Bill because of his ties with Epstein. They taken over the Wattis School of Art. You should see. Oh my God. Oh my God. Who are they? The Wattises. Who are the Brownings? Oh my God. Come on. You talking short. Who are they? I mean, these are the greatest war profiteers in human history, and 4th, 5th generational wealth we're going to bow to. Not me. They took over. Tracy Hall was my 8th grade history teacher at Walquist Junior High. I drew all the yearbooks. I look back in the 70s. Oh, you should have seen them protests over in front of the Brownie Center when they changed the name. I was there. Whoa, whoa, whoa. But we've accepted imperialism. Well, what do you think is going to happen in Ukraine? What do you think is going to happen? Happened. Stay tuned.